I remember that morning like it happened just yesterday. It was 8:10 a.m. when the doorbell rang. I had just finished making my coffee and sat down at the kitchen table, ready to start my quiet, slow morning the way I always do. When I opened the door, there was no one there, just a large gift basket sitting on the doorstep. It had a soft blue ribbon wrapped around it and a tiny card tied to the front with golden string. The basket looked so perfect and elegant. Inside, there were all kinds of things: a beautiful ceramic cup, fresh croissants, packets of tea, strawberry jam, some chocolate, and a small bottle of orange juice. I smiled instantly. My son, Lucas, had remembered my birthday. That made my heart warm. Lucas is my only child. He moved to another city 5 years ago after he got married. Ever since then, we don't talk as often. He's busy with work, and I try not to bother him too much. So when I saw that basket, I thought, maybe he's finally thinking of me again. I sat down at the table and looked at the basket for a few minutes. It was so lovely I almost didn't want to open it. Everything was placed with care, like someone took their time to choose each item. The little card simply said, "Happy birthday, Mom. Enjoy your morning. Lucas." No, I love you. No phone call. Just the card. Still, I smiled. I didn't want to be ungrateful. I told myself that this was his way of showing he cared. Maybe he couldn't visit, but he had still done something kind. I took out the croissants and placed them in a plate. I poured the orange juice into the fancy ceramic cup. It was a really beautiful cup, white with tiny blue flowers on it. It looked expensive. Handmade, probably. But I didn't really drink juice in the mornings anymore. It upsets my stomach. I stared at the cup for a moment and thought, maybe I'll just save it for another day. But then I had an idea. My next-door neighbor, Mrs. Helena, always helped me with groceries. She had 2 grandkids who were always running around her house. I thought, maybe I could share this basket with them. They would enjoy the chocolates and the tea. I wasn't going to eat all of it anyway. And the cup? Maybe her daughter would like it. So I packed most of the items back into the basket, except for the croissants, and took it next door. Helena smiled and said, "Oh, how sweet. You're always so generous." I didn't tell her who sent it. I just said, "I got a gift and thought of you." That was it. Just a kind gesture. I felt proud of myself. I thought my son would be happy to know I shared his gift. Back at home, I sat down with the croissants and stared at the card again. A small voice in my head whispered, "Why didn't he call you himself?" Another voice said, "He's busy. He did his part. Be happy with that." So I pushed the thought away. The rest of the day was quiet. No calls. No messages. Just the soft sound of birds outside the window and the feeling that something was missing, though I didn't know what yet. That night, I kept looking at the cup in my mind. The one I gave away without thinking. It had been beautiful. A part of me started to wish I'd kept it. But I told myself again, it's just a cup. The real gift was the thought behind it. At least, that's what I believed, until the next morning, when Lucas called and asked a question that would change everything. After I opened the breakfast basket and read the little card from Lucas, I just sat there for a while, holding the edge of the table, thinking about the past. It had been years since he gave me anything like that. Not that I ever asked for much. I raised him alone, after his father passed away when Lucas was still in middle school. I worked in a sewing shop, sometimes late into the night, just so Lucas could have a better life. So seeing that basket, even if it was small, meant something to me. It brought back old memories, the kind that hurt a little because they're so sweet. But the truth is, I didn't really want to eat everything in the basket. The jam looked nice, but it was too sugary for me. The chocolate, too rich for my stomach these days. The tea was lovely, but I already had a shelf full of tea I barely touched. The ceramic cup? It was beautiful, yes. But I already had so many cups. I thought it would be more useful to someone else. That's when I thought about Mrs. Helena. She lived right next door. A widow like me. We sometimes helped each other. She'd water my plants when I traveled, and I'd pick up milk for her if I saw it on sale. Simple neighbor things. But more than that, I knew her daughter was visiting with the grandkids that week. 2 little boys, always running around, always laughing. Kids love sweets. And Helena didn't have much. Her pension was small, and her daughter was going through a hard time after a messy divorce. So I told myself, why not share this joy with them? It felt like the right thing to do. I took the basket into the kitchen and pulled out the croissants. I would keep those, they smelled buttery and fresh. Maybe I'd have one with a bit of honey later. The rest, juice, tea, chocolate, jam, even the pretty cup, I carefully placed back into the basket. I looked at the cup for a second longer. There was something about it. It looked special. Not like something you'd buy at a store. It was white porcelain, with soft blue flowers painted around the rim. A hand-painted design. I turned it around and noticed a small symbol near the bottom. I couldn't tell what it meant, but it looked personal. Still, I placed it back in the basket. I walked next door and knocked on Helena's door. She answered in her soft voice, surprised to see me with the basket. "What's this, dear?" she asked. "Oh, just a little something I got this morning," I said with a smile. "Thought maybe you and the boys could enjoy it more than I would." She smiled so wide I thought she might cry. "You're too kind," she said. "They'll love this." "Thank you." I didn't tell her who sent it. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't want her to think I was just handing off a gift. I wanted her to feel like it was a gift from me too. A small act of kindness. She called the boys in. Their eyes lit up when they saw the chocolate and jam. Helena's daughter came into the room and smiled at me shyly. "Thank you," she whispered. "It's nothing," I said. "Just some extra treats." I went back home and sat down with one croissant on my plate. It was soft and warm. I ate it slowly, looking out the window at the birds landing on the garden fence. The sky was clear that day. Everything felt calm. I didn't feel regret. Not yet. In fact, I felt proud of myself. Like I had done something good. Something Lucas would be happy about. I told myself he'd probably smile if he knew I had shared his gift. I even imagined the call. He'd say, "Hey Mom, did you like the basket?" And I'd say, "Yes, it was lovely. I even gave it to the neighbors because they could enjoy it more." And he'd reply, "That sounds like you, Mom. Always generous." I thought that would be enough. I thought sharing was the right thing to do. But as I sat alone in my living room, staring at the card again, something didn't sit quite right. The handwriting on the card was different. Slower. More careful. Lucas usually scribbled his notes quickly. But this one looked like he had taken time. It just said, "Happy birthday, Mom. Enjoy your morning. Lucas." No heart. No love you. No emoji or smiley face like he usually did when texting. Just that short line. It felt formal. Not cold, exactly, but not warm either. I told myself he probably ordered it from a store and had them write the card. That made sense. Maybe that's why the cup looked expensive too. Maybe it was part of a gift basket package. Still, something deep inside me felt strange. I shook off the feeling. Later that afternoon, I made some tea for myself. My usual mint tea, and tried to relax with an old novel I had already read 3 times. But my mind kept drifting. Did Lucas send this basket personally? Was the cup something special? Was I supposed to keep it? But the basket was already gone. Helena had already used it. I didn't want to ask for it back. It would feel rude. It was just a gift. Just a breakfast basket. Right? That night, I looked at the card again and placed it inside my dresser drawer. Still, no phone call from Lucas. No message. Nothing. I felt a little hurt, to be honest. A gift without a call feels like a gift from a stranger. It feels polite, not loving. I lay in bed that night thinking about how things used to be. When Lucas was younger, he used to run into the kitchen on my birthday and sing loudly, even when he couldn't carry a tune. He would write silly little poems in his childish handwriting and stick them on the fridge. Now he lived hours away. Now he sent a basket. Now I gave it away. At 2 a.m., I got up to drink water and sat by the window for a few minutes. The moonlight fell across the living room, and everything felt quiet. Still, I whispered to myself, "You did the right thing. Sharing is love." I believed that with my whole heart. But the next morning, Lucas finally called. And that's when I found out what I had missed. What I had given away without knowing. And that's when my heart began to ache in a very different way. I woke up the next morning with a strange feeling in my chest. It wasn't pain. Not exactly. It was that soft heaviness you feel when you know something important is coming, but you don't know what it is yet. I got out of bed slowly, sat on the edge for a moment, and rubbed my hands together. My house was quiet. Just the faint ticking of the old wall clock in the living room and the sound of birds chirping outside the window. The same routine. The same silence. I walked into the kitchen to make coffee. As I waited for the water to boil, I looked toward the table where the basket had been yesterday. It was gone now, of course. I had given it away. But in my mind, I still saw it, neatly arranged, fresh, beautiful. That cup. The one with the little blue flowers. The one I gave away without a second thought. A small part of me now wished I hadn't. Before I could fall deeper into my thoughts, the phone rang. I walked over and picked it up without even checking the screen. Hello. Hi, Mom. It was Lucas. His voice sounded warm, but slightly nervous. Like he wasn't sure how I'd respond. It had been a while since we'd spoken on the phone. Maybe 2-3 weeks? Most of our communication these days was through short texts. I smiled. Good morning, son, I said. I was wondering when you'd call. He laughed softly. I wanted to give you a little time with the gift, he said. So, did it arrive yesterday morning? Yes, it did, I said. It was lovely. Very thoughtful. He was quiet for a second. I was hoping it would make your morning special. It did, I replied, trying to sound cheerful. I even shared it with the neighbors. The kids loved the chocolates. There was a pause. You shared it, he said slowly. Yes, I said. I didn't need everything in it. I thought it would be nice to let the little ones enjoy it. I only kept the croissants. Silence. Not long, but long enough for me to feel it. Then he spoke, gently but with a hint of something behind his words. Did you look inside the cup? I blinked. The cup? I repeated. Yes. The white one. With the blue flowers. I saw it, I said. It was very pretty. That's why I gave it to Helena's daughter. It looked like something she'd love. Another pause. Then his voice dropped, barely above a whisper. Did you check inside it? I suddenly felt cold. No, I said slowly. Why? There was silence again. A longer one this time. My heart started to beat a little faster. Lucas? I said. He exhaled through the phone, and when he spoke, his voice trembled. There was a note, Mom, he said. A letter. I folded it and placed it inside the cup. I froze. My eyes widened. My fingers gripped the phone tighter. A letter? I whispered. Yes. He was quiet again. Then, finally, in a low, shaky voice, he added, It was important. I didn't know what to say. My mouth was dry. My thoughts were racing. I tried to picture the basket again. Every item, every detail. But I hadn't looked inside the cup. Not even once. I assumed it was just for drinking. Just decoration. Something pretty. I felt my knees get weak, so I slowly sat down on the kitchen chair. Lucas. I didn't know, I said. I thought you'd open everything, he said, his voice soft and calm, but full of sadness. I thought you'd notice the paper. I gave it away, I whispered, staring at nothing. I didn't check inside. I'm so sorry. There was no anger in his voice. No shouting. No blame. That made it worse. It's okay, he said. I spent the whole night wondering if you read it. I covered my mouth with one hand. Tears started to well up in my eyes. What was in the letter? I asked. Can you tell me now? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he said something that broke me. I'll try, but it won't feel the same, he said. Because I wrote it by hand. I stayed up late the night before your birthday. I sat on the floor in my office and just let my heart speak. I wiped my eyes. I'm so sorry, Lucas. I didn't know. I just thought it was a cup. I thought the basket was from a company. It didn't feel like something personal. I understand, he said. I should have told you to check it. But I thought maybe this time you'd feel that it came straight from me. My mind started flashing images. Me walking to Helena's house, handing her the basket with a smile, the kids unwrapping it with excitement, the cup being passed from hand to hand, and the letter still inside. Was it thrown away? Was it opened? Was it even noticed? I didn't know. I'll go ask for it back, I said quickly. I'll go now. Maybe they still have it. There was a pause. Then Lucas said, Even if you find it, it might be too late. It wasn't just words, Mom. It was a piece of me. I broke down right there at the kitchen table. I cried quietly, holding the phone with both hands. I wanted to go back in time. I wanted to pick up that cup and turn it over and look inside. I wanted to be more curious, more careful, more thoughtful. I thought I was being kind by sharing. But now I saw that I had missed something important. Something that could not be replaced. I never meant to hurt you, I said, tears running down my cheeks. I know, he said softly. We stayed quiet for a moment. Then I said, Can you tell me what it said? Please. He was quiet again. Then finally he said, I'll try. But maybe not now. I need some time. My heart dropped. Not out of anger, but out of pain. Pain that I had pushed away the one moment my son tried to open his heart. Pain that I missed it by being too quick to give something away. Pain that I may never read those words the way he intended. And as I sat there, phone still in hand, I looked at the card again. The short, simple card that came with the basket. Happy birthday, Mom. Enjoy your morning. Lucas. And now, knowing what I know, that message didn't feel simple anymore. It felt incomplete, like a door that had been left halfway open, and I had never walked through it. I couldn't stop hearing his voice in my head. Did you check the cup? Such a simple question. But it changed everything. I had thought I was doing something good when I gave the basket to my neighbor. I thought I was being generous, that I was passing on a small act of kindness. But now I realized I had given away something more than a gift. I had given away a message, a moment, a piece of my son. After our phone call, I just sat there at the kitchen table. I didn't move. The tea in my mug had gone cold. My heart felt like it was caught between guilt and panic. I had to get that letter back, even if it was too late, even if it had been thrown away. I had to try. I stood up quickly, grabbed my cardigan, and walked straight out the door. It was only a few steps to Mrs. Helena's house, but my legs felt heavy. My mind was racing. What if they already threw it away? What if the kids played with it? What if they never even saw it? I knocked on the door, a little harder than usual. A few seconds later, Helena opened it. She looked surprised. "Oh, hello again," she said, smiling. "Is everything all right?" I tried to smile back, but I think my face gave me away. I was clearly upset. "Helena, I need to ask you something," I said. "It's about the basket I gave you yesterday." She nodded. "Yes, the kids loved it. The chocolate was gone in 2 minutes." "I'm glad," I said softly. "But, do you still have the cup? The ceramic one? The white one with blue flowers?" She thought for a moment. "Let me check." She left the door open and walked inside. I stood there, holding my breath. Then she came back, holding the cup in her hand. "This one?" she asked. "Yes," I said, almost gasping. "That's the one. May I see it?" She handed it to me. I turned it over in my hands. It looked the same. Still clean. No cracks. But when I looked inside, it was empty. No paper. No letter. Just the smooth, white inside of the cup. My heart dropped. I looked up at her. "Did anyone find anything inside?" I asked. "Like a small piece of folded paper?" She shook her head slowly. "I don't think so. My daughter washed everything when she unpacked the basket. Maybe she saw something. Should I call her?" "Yes," I said quickly. "Please." She stepped inside and returned a few minutes later with her daughter, Paula. Paula looked a little confused but kind. "Hi," she said. "Is something wrong?" I explained carefully. "The basket I gave you, it had a cup with something hidden inside. A letter. My son wrote it for me. I didn't know. He told me this morning." She looked surprised. "Oh no," she said. "I washed the cup before putting it on the shelf. I didn't see any paper inside." "Are you sure?" I asked, my voice shaking a little. It would have been a small folded letter, maybe tucked at the bottom. She paused, trying to remember. "I remember rinsing the cup," she said. "There was a piece of paper that slipped into the sink. I thought it was part of the wrapping or packaging. It was already wet. What did you do with it?" I asked quickly. She frowned. "I think I threw it in the bin. It was soggy. I didn't read it. My knees felt weak." "But the bin," I said. "Is it still there?" She looked at her mother. "I took it out last night," she said. "The garbage truck came early this morning." I closed my eyes. It was gone. The letter was gone. I tried to keep my face calm. I didn't want to cry in front of them. They hadn't done anything wrong. It wasn't their fault. "I'm so sorry," Paula said. "I didn't know it was important. I feel terrible." "It's all right," I said softly. "Thank you for telling me." Helena gently touched my shoulder. "Take the cup back, dear," she said. "It was yours after all." I nodded. I didn't say no. I walked home holding the cup like it was made of glass. I sat down at the kitchen table again and placed it in front of me. I stared at it for a long time. The cup was beautiful, but now it felt like a symbol of something I had lost. Something I could never get back. I called Lucas again. He answered right away. "I went to Helena's," I said. I asked about the cup. He was quiet. "They still had it," I added. "But the letter's gone. Her daughter found it in the sink. Thought it was trash. It's been thrown away." "I see," he said. I could hear the pain in his voice. "I'm sorry," I said again. "I really am." "I know, Mom," he said. "It's not your fault. I should have told you where to look." "No," I said quickly. "You trusted me to open everything, to look carefully, to understand that it was from your heart. And I didn't." He didn't say anything. I thought I was being generous, I said quietly. But maybe I was just rushing. Maybe I was too used to being forgotten that I didn't know how to receive something personal. I paused. Then I whispered, "What did the letter say, Lucas?" He exhaled. "It wasn't long," he said. "Just a page. I wrote about how I've been thinking of you a lot lately. How I've made mistakes. And how I'm sorry I didn't call more. That I missed our old talks. That I still love you." Tears rolled down my cheeks. "And at the end," he added, "I wrote something I hadn't said in years." "What was it?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I wrote, 'You're still my safe place, Mom.'" That broke me completely. I cried quietly, holding the phone with one hand and the cup with the other. I didn't deserve those words. And yet they were meant for me. Even if I never saw them on paper, they still lived in his heart. And now they lived in mine too. "Lucas," I said. "I may not have read the letter, but I felt it." "I'm glad," he said softly, "because I meant every word." And we sat there in silence, mother and son, across miles, both holding a piece of something broken, but also healing. After I hung up the phone, I sat there in the kitchen, holding the empty cup in my hands. The same cup that once held something more than just a drink. It had held a message. A letter. Words from my son that were never meant to be lost. But they were. And it was because of me. I placed the cup down carefully on the table and leaned back in my chair. My hands were shaking, and my eyes were tired from crying. Lucas had told me what the letter said, at least some of it. But even as he shared the words over the phone, my heart ached. Because I didn't read them the way he had written them. I didn't hold the letter in my hands. I didn't feel the paper. I didn't see his handwriting. I didn't pause between the lines. I didn't feel the full meaning. I only had the leftovers of what was meant to be a special moment. And worst of all, I didn't know. When he first asked me, "Did you check the cup?" I had no idea what he meant. I didn't understand the question. Why would he put anything inside a cup? Wasn't the gift just the basket? Wasn't the card enough? No, now I realized it wasn't. He had wanted more than a simple happy birthday. He wanted to speak to me through that letter. Not just send a gift. Not just be polite. He wanted to open his heart. But I missed the signal. I completely missed it. Not because I didn't care, but because I never expected anything deeper from him anymore. That's the part that hurt the most. I had stopped expecting anything real. And that's not his fault. That's on me. I looked around my kitchen. Everything felt the same, but also different. The clock ticked. The fridge hummed. The sunlight poured in through the same window. But my heart felt heavy. I started thinking about all the small things I had ignored over the years. The messages I may have read too quickly. The calls I didn't make because I didn't want to bother him. The way I stopped asking questions because I didn't want to sound too emotional. I had slowly become a quiet background in my son's life. A peaceful voice on the other end of the phone. A person he loved, yes, but also someone who expected less and less. And that's what I had done with the breakfast basket, too. I expected less. I thought, it's just food. Just a card. Just a cup. I never imagined it was more than that. I never thought the cup might carry something invisible but powerful, his words. His heart. And maybe that's something I had missed before, too. Maybe Lucas had been trying in other ways all along. Maybe I just didn't see it. I stood up and walked to the sink, still thinking. The cup was still on the table, and the card was in my dresser drawer. I took the card out again and looked at it. "Happy birthday, Mom. Enjoy your morning. Lucas." I now read it differently. Before, I thought it felt distant. But now I saw something else. He was telling me to enjoy your morning because he had placed something in it, a surprise. A deeper message. He was trying to bring us closer. And I hadn't noticed. I sat down again and held the card close. I whispered out loud, "I had no idea what you meant, Lucas." I didn't understand. I thought about the younger version of me, the mom who always knew what Lucas meant, even before he said it. When he was little, I could read his eyes. I could feel what he needed. Now, he had placed a letter in a cup, and I had missed it. It felt like I didn't know him anymore. Or maybe, I had just forgotten how to look for the little things. The next day, I tried to keep busy. I cleaned the kitchen. I watered the plants. I dusted the shelves. But my mind kept drifting back to the cup. The letter. His voice. "You're still my safe place, Mom." That line echoed in my heart. I didn't feel like a safe place anymore. Not after giving his words away without knowing. That afternoon, I sat outside on the porch and looked at the flowers in my garden. And I wondered, how many times in life do we miss the small messages? The quiet ones? The ones that come in soft packages, not loud shouts? We think we understand. But sometimes we're blind. I started to think about writing him a letter of my own. Something from me. Not a reply by phone. Not a simple sorry. But something with my own hands. Something that says, I didn't understand before. But now I do. And I don't want to miss anything else. Not one more word from you. Because the truth is, it wasn't about the cup. It wasn't about the basket. It wasn't even about the letter. It was about how I had stopped seeing my son as someone who still needed me in a deeper way. And how, without meaning to, I had treated his heart like just another gift basket. Polite. Temporary. Disposable. But it wasn't. It was real. And even though I had no idea what he meant in that moment, I did now. Now I understood the weight of what I lost. And that's when I promised myself, whatever happens next, I would never miss something that important again. That afternoon, I held the cup in my lap again. I had cleaned it gently and placed it back in its little paper box. I wasn't sure what to do with it yet, but I couldn't just put it on a shelf and forget it. Because now I knew it was more than a cup. It was part of something I didn't see coming. A message. A moment. A quiet cry from my son's heart. And I had given it away like it was nothing. I kept thinking about Lucas's voice on the phone. How it had sounded when he said, I put something important inside it. Not a little surprise. Not a cute note. He had used the word important. And that word meant everything now. It meant he had thought carefully. It meant he had been planning it. It meant he had trusted me to find it. And I hadn't. I had missed it. I felt sick all over again. I sat in my bedroom, holding that now empty cup like it was a memory I couldn't touch. I kept thinking, what made him do that? Why write a letter and hide it? Why not just say it to me? Why not call me and tell me those words? And then it hit me. Maybe he was scared. Maybe it was easier for him to write his feelings down and hide them, because he didn't know how I would react. Maybe he thought I would ignore it. Maybe he thought I wouldn't care. And maybe he hid it in the cup because it was safer than saying it out loud. Suddenly, I remembered something from many years ago. Lucas was 12. He had broken a window in school. Instead of telling me, he slipped a handwritten apology note under my pillow. He had said, I know you'll be disappointed, but I wanted you to hear it in my writing first. Back then, I laughed softly when I found it. And I hugged him right after. Now he had done it again. But I didn't find the note. I had thrown it away before I even knew it was there. I needed to talk to him again. I didn't want to go another day holding only regret in my hands. So I picked up the phone and called. He answered after just one ring. Hi, he said softly. Hi, sweetheart, I said. My voice was calm now. Sad but calm. I keep thinking about what you said, I told him. That you put something important in the cup. He didn't say anything, so I continued. I want to understand why. I want to know what made you do it that way. There was a short pause. Then he finally said, because I didn't know if you'd be ready to hear it in person. My heart tightened. Why wouldn't I be ready? I asked. He sighed. Because we haven't talked like that in a long time, Mom, he said. Not really talked. Not about the real stuff. He was right. Our conversations had become short. Simple. Safe. How's work? Are you eating well? How's the weather? We never touched the deeper places anymore. He continued. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. With you. With how I treated our relationship. I've said things I wish I could take back. And sometimes I feel like I disappointed you. I wanted to speak, but he wasn't done. And I've never told you how sorry I am. For drifting away. For calling less. For visiting even less than that. Tears formed in my eyes again. But the letter, it was all there, he said. Everything I've wanted to say. How I've missed you. How I still need you. How I think about you more than you know. I closed my eyes, letting his words settle in my heart. Lucas, I whispered. I had no idea. I know, he said. That's why I put it in the cup. I thought maybe you'd find it and feel something real again. Not just read a text. Not just get a gift. But feel my heart. I held the phone to my ear and cried quietly. I do feel it, I said. Now I do. I just didn't know how to start, he continued. Writing that letter, it helped me say things I couldn't speak out loud. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. I understand that more than you think, I said softly. We were quiet for a moment. Then I told him, Lucas, you didn't disappoint me. You grew up. You had your own life. That's what I wanted for you. But yes, I missed you. And I did feel forgotten sometimes. His voice softened. I never meant to forget you, Mom. I just didn't know how to balance everything. And honestly, I thought you were better off without my messy life in the way. No, I said firmly. Don't ever think that. I wanted to be part of it, even the messy parts. He was quiet again. I'm sorry I didn't tell you to look inside the cup, he finally said. No, I replied gently. I'm sorry I didn't think to look. I've gotten so used to being on the outside of your world, I stopped believing there was something deeper waiting for me. He took a deep breath. Well, now there is, he said. And I want that to change. I smiled through my tears. So do I. Then I added something from deep inside my heart. You don't need to hide your feelings in a cup anymore, Lucas. You can tell me anything. I'm still your mother. He paused. And then, just like when he was a boy, he said, I know. And I still need you, Mom. I never stopped. That was when I knew. Even though the letter was gone. Even though I never held it in my hands. Its message had finally reached me. I know what Lucas said. I know the letter was already gone. His words were clear. Paula, my neighbor Helena's daughter, had seen a wet piece of paper in the sink and tossed it into the trash. The garbage truck had already taken it the next morning. It was too late. That's what everyone said. But my heart didn't want to believe it. Not yet. Because even if something is probably gone, there's still that small chance. Maybe, just maybe, it isn't. And I needed to try. I needed to do one last thing. I didn't care if I looked foolish. I didn't care if I cried in front of people. I just needed to try. Because this wasn't just paper. It was my son's heart. So I stood up, grabbed my sweater, and walked quickly toward the front door. I didn't even wait to think twice. I rushed to Helena's house again. This time, I didn't knock slowly like I usually do. I knocked fast. 3 times. She opened the door, a little surprised. Oh, you again, dear. I need to ask, please, can I look through your garbage? I asked, almost out of breath. She looked shocked for a second. Oh, well, the bags are out back, but I thought Paula took them to the curb. Did she? I asked. Or are they still there? Helena turned around and shouted inside the house. Paula, are the trash bags still here, or did the truck already come? Paula came to the door. She looked a little confused, a little nervous. I put out the main bin, she said. But I think the smaller kitchen bags are still inside. I was going to take them out later. Please, I said, already stepping into the hallway. I need to check them. Paula nodded and led me to the kitchen. There were 2 bags by the door, tied up, sitting on the floor. My heart was beating fast. I dropped to my knees, not caring that I was wearing my house dress. I opened the first bag carefully. It smelled like old food, eggshells, tea bags, soft fruit. I didn't care. I picked through each item with my bare hands. Helena came over and gave me gloves. I thanked her. I opened the second bag. This one had plastic wrap, old receipts, napkins. My hands moved faster now, shaking. I was looking for a piece of paper. Maybe something folded. Maybe wet. Maybe torn. Maybe. There. At the bottom of the second bag, stuck to a napkin, was a small, wrinkled square of paper. It looked like it had been wet and then dried. I picked it up with both hands and opened it slowly. The ink had smudged, but I could still see it. Familiar handwriting. Lucas's handwriting. I gasped. The letter. It was here. It was torn at the edge, stained with juice and smudged from water, but it was here. I clutched it like it was gold. I looked up at Paula. This is it, I whispered. This is what he wrote me. She covered her mouth. Oh my God. I didn't know. It's okay, I said. You didn't know. But thank you for not throwing this bag out yet. I walked out of their house with the letter held close to my chest. Back in my kitchen, I spread it out gently on a towel. I took a picture of it with my phone in case it broke apart. I sat down. My hands were still shaking. Then I read it. It wasn't long, just like Lucas had said. But every word went straight to my soul. Mom, I don't know how to say all this over the phone. That's why I wrote this. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've been distant. I stopped calling, and I always had excuses. But I want you to know I think about you more than you think. Sometimes, I sit in my car and remember how you used to make breakfast before school. How you'd leave little notes in my lunchbox. I miss that. I miss you. I'm sorry for not showing it. I know I've made you feel forgotten. But you're not. You're my mother. You're still the only person I think of when I feel lost. You're still my safe place. I love you. Lucas. I read it once. Then twice. Then 3 more times. By the 5th time, I couldn't see the words through my tears. I pressed the letter to my chest and cried so deeply, my whole body shook. This letter wasn't just an apology. It was his heart. It was everything I had been longing to hear, and more. I could hear his voice in my mind as I read each line. The little boy who used to hold my hand. The teenager who said whatever when I hugged him in public. The man who moved away and forgot how to say, "I love you" out loud. He had come back to me through this letter. And I almost missed it. Almost. But I didn't. Not fully. Because I rushed. Because I believed there was still hope. Because I knew that even the smallest chance was worth chasing. I picked up my phone again and called him. He answered right away. "Lucas," I said, smiling through my tears. "I have it." He was quiet. "I found the letter," I said. "It was in the second garbage bag. It's a little damaged, but I can read it. Every word." I heard his breath catch on the phone. "Really?" he whispered. "Yes," I said. "And it's the most beautiful thing I've ever read." He didn't speak for a while. Then I heard it. He was crying. Not loudly, but enough that I knew. "Thank you for looking," he said softly. "Thank you for writing it," I said. "I will never throw your words away again. Not in any form. Not even by accident." We didn't say much after that. We didn't have to. The letter had already said everything. But in the silence, something inside me healed. Something between us reopened. And this time, I would hold on to it with everything I had. Even after finding the letter, my heart still felt strange. Yes, I had the words now. Yes, I read what Lucas wrote. Yes, I held it in my hands, smudged but full of meaning. But the pain didn't leave right away. Because I had to face a hard truth. The breakfast basket, the gift that started all of this, was gone. Thrown away. Forgotten. And somehow, that made the whole thing feel fragile. I went into the kitchen and opened the drawer where I had put the card he sent with the basket. I read it again. "Happy birthday, Mom. Enjoy your morning. Lucas." Such a short sentence. So quiet. So simple. But now I knew there had been more. Hidden beneath those soft words, placed gently inside that beautiful cup. I sat down with the card and the letter. And that's when I thought. I gave the basket away too quickly. I didn't take time to really look. I didn't pause. I didn't wonder. I assumed it was just a gift. Just food. Just a card. Just a cup. But it wasn't. It was a message. It was a moment. And I missed it. Now I had the letter, yes. But the rest? The experience of opening it myself, finding the note in the cup, reading it slowly, feeling surprised and emotional in that exact moment. That was gone. And it would never come back. I tried to remember what the basket even looked like. It was all a blur now. I remembered the blue ribbon, the golden string around the card, the scent of the croissants. But the rest? Gone. I had rushed to give it away, thinking I was being kind, thinking I was doing something thoughtful. And maybe I was. But now I understood something painful. You can't always get moments back. Some things, once given away, don't return the same way. I looked at the empty cup on the table, the same one that had held his letter. I had cleaned it, dried it, saved it. But the basket itself? It was already thrown out. Paula had told me that the children had finished the food. The wrapping paper was torn. The basket had gotten stained and broken. So they tossed it that evening. Just like that. Gone. I know it was just a basket, but it meant something. It was part of the memory I could have had. If I had opened everything myself. If I had looked closely. If I had held each piece and thought, maybe this means more than I see. But I didn't. And now I sat with that sadness. A quiet sadness. Not the sharp kind that makes you cry loudly, but the soft kind that sits in your chest and doesn't leave. I went outside for some air. The sun was warm. The sky was blue. But even the birds felt quiet that morning. I sat on the porch and closed my eyes. Then I whispered to myself, the basket is gone. And so is the moment I could have had. But something else inside me said, but the letter is here. And you still have your son. And that gave me peace. Not full peace, but a small piece of it. Because yes, I missed the moment. But I didn't lose him. He could have been angry with me. He could have pulled away. He could have said, never mind, it's too late. But he didn't. He cried. He told me the truth. And he forgave me. That's more than a basket. That's more than a letter. That's love. A love that gets bruised, but not broken. A love that hides in teacups and surprise packages, waiting quietly to be noticed. That afternoon, I took the letter and placed it inside a new envelope. I wrote the date on it. I didn't want to forget. Then I sat down and started writing a letter of my own, to him. Not a text. Not a voicemail. Not a short birthday thank you. A real letter. With a pen. With feeling. With honesty. I wanted him to feel what I now felt. That we had missed a moment. But not the meaning. And that sometimes losing something is the very thing that shows you how much it mattered. Later that evening, he called me again. "How are you feeling now?" he asked. "I'm better," I said. "I've been thinking a lot." "Me too." "I want you to know," I said softly. "Even though the basket is gone, even though I missed the moment, your words are with me now. I'll keep them forever." He didn't speak for a second. Then he said, "That means everything to me." "And Lucas?" "Yes. I'm writing you a letter too. Just so you know how much I love you." He smiled on the phone. I could feel it. I'd like that. And for the first time in a long time, we didn't feel far apart. We didn't feel like strangers. We felt like mother and son again. Not just because of the letter, but because we finally stopped talking around the feelings and started talking through them. And even though the basket was already thrown away, the love inside it wasn't. That evening, after everything had settled a little, after the tears, after the letter, after the truth, I sat on the sofa, holding the cup in my hands again. I had cleaned it twice now. It felt like something sacred to me. It was strange how an ordinary object could suddenly feel so full of meaning. But that's what happens when you know what was hidden inside. The letter might have been lost, almost forever, but I had found it just in time. And now I couldn't stop thinking about what Lucas must have felt during those hours when he believed I had never read it. The pain, the fear, the quiet heartbreak. So I picked up the phone and called him again. He answered quickly, like he'd been waiting. "Hi, Mom." "Hi, sweetheart. Are you busy?" "No, I was just thinking about you." That made my eyes water instantly. We both stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then I said, "Lucas, can I ask you something? Something important." "Of course. When you sent me the letter, what were you hoping would happen? I mean, what did you imagine? What did you want me to feel?" There was a pause on his end. A long one. Too long. And then he didn't answer. Not with words. At first, I thought the line went quiet because of a signal problem. "Lucas?" I asked softly. Still no words. But then I heard it. The sound of someone trying to breathe through tears. My son was crying. Not loudly. Not the kind of cry you make when you're hurt by accident. This was something deeper. This was a cry that had been waiting. I didn't speak. I just listened. It took him a moment to calm down. Then, in a soft, broken voice, he said, "I really thought you'd read it and finally understand how much I still love you." I closed my eyes and felt the weight of that sentence in my whole chest. "I do understand now," I whispered. "I really do. But for a whole day," he continued, still trying to speak through the tears, "I thought you didn't care. I thought maybe I had waited too long. That I said too little, too late." "Oh, Lucas," I said, my heart breaking again. "I wrote that letter 3 times, he said. I tore up the first 2 versions because I couldn't get the words right." "You did," I whispered. "You got them exactly right." He took a shaky breath. "I even sat in the parking lot before work the morning I mailed it," he said. "I just sat there holding the envelope, wondering if you'd open it and feel what I felt. I wanted you to know that I'm not just saying I love you. I wanted you to feel it, to believe it." "I do believe it," I said, my voice full of tears now. "You have no idea how much I needed to read those words. But when you said you gave the basket away," he said slowly, my heart sank. I smiled on the phone, but inside, it felt like my worst fear came true. My heart broke again just hearing that. I had been so careless. So fast. So sure I was doing a good thing by sharing. But I hadn't realized that someone's heart was hidden in the middle of that gift. I had held it in my hands and let it go. "I'm so sorry you felt that way," I said. "You didn't deserve that. Not after everything you put into that letter." "I'm not mad, Mom," he said. "I was just hurt. For a little while." "And now?" I asked gently. He paused. "I'm okay now," he said. "Because you found it. And you called me. And you told me what it meant to you." "I wish I had noticed sooner," I said. "But you did notice," he said. "And that's what matters." We sat on the phone together in silence again. But this time, it wasn't a sad silence. It was peaceful. Healing. I sat back on the sofa and looked around the living room. I had pictures of Lucas as a boy on the shelf, his school photo, a picture of him in his baseball uniform, a framed drawing he made me when he was 5 that said, "You are the best cooker, Mom." I realized I had never taken those down. Even when he moved away. Even when we barely spoke. Even when I felt forgotten. Because the truth is, I never stopped loving him. I never stopped hoping. And neither did he. Lucas, I said softly. Thank you for writing that letter. I will keep it forever. I know, he said quietly. And thank you for finding it. Then I added something I hadn't said in a very long time. You're still my little boy. He laughed a little, still sniffling. I'm 34 now, Mom. I don't care, I smiled. You'll always be mine. He was quiet again. Then he said something I never expected. I think I want to visit soon. Maybe next weekend. Just me. No phone. No basket. Just us. I covered my mouth to keep from crying again. I'd love that. Okay, he said. Then it's a plan. We didn't say goodbye right away. We just listened to each other breathe. The silence wasn't empty this time. It was full. Full of love. Full of understanding. Full of healing. And though he cried that night, I think it was the kind of crying that comes from release. From peace. From finally being heard. And from finally knowing he was still loved. And so was I. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table with the letter again. The paper was still wrinkled and stained. The ink was faded in some spots. But every word was there. And I could feel the love inside it. I read it again slowly. Mom, I know I've made you feel forgotten. But you're not. You're my mother. You're still the only person I think of when I feel lost. You're still my safe place. I had read this line so many times now. But every time it made my eyes water. Still my safe place. I didn't think he felt that way anymore. I had believed our closeness had faded with time. But I was wrong. Now I saw that he was carrying something inside him, something heavy. Not just love, but guilt, regret, and maybe even shame. Later that day, he called me again. Mom, yes, sweetheart. I wanted to tell you something I didn't say before. I stopped everything I was doing. Just from his tone, I knew this was important. I didn't just write that letter to say I love you, he said. It was also a forgiveness letter. I stayed quiet, not because I didn't understand, but because the word forgiveness felt heavy. I don't follow, I said gently. Forgiveness for what? He sighed. Mom, when I moved out, I didn't leave the right way. You remember? Yes, I said softly. We argued. I said a lot of mean things. You were young, I replied. We were both emotional. But I meant some of them back then, he admitted. And that's what hurts now. I could hear the weight in his voice. I said things like you never listened to me, and you only care about yourself, he continued. And I know that broke your heart. It did, I whispered. But I was wrong, Mom. I didn't see what you were doing for me at the time. I didn't see all your sacrifices. Your quiet pain. Your strength. I wiped a tear from my cheek. I was so focused on leaving, on starting my own life, that I forgot to thank you for the life you gave me. It's okay, I said. You were finding your way. But it wasn't okay, he said firmly. Not to me. That's why I wrote that letter. I needed you to know. I forgive you. I blinked. You forgive me? He paused. Yes, he said. I forgive you for the moments you couldn't be perfect. For the times you were tired. For the nights I heard you cry and didn't know what to do. For the times I needed more from you, but didn't understand what you were going through. Now I was crying hard. I thought I was the one who needed your forgiveness, I said. We both do, he replied. And suddenly everything clicked. This letter. It wasn't just an apology. It wasn't just love. It was him letting go of all the unspoken things. All the quiet hurt. All the past misunderstandings. All the walls that had built up between us. He wasn't just reaching out. He was laying everything down. I guess we've both been carrying things, I said softly. Yeah, he said. And I'm tired of carrying it. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Me too. You always tried your best, Mom, he said. Even when you didn't have anything left to give. And I was too young, too selfish to see it. But now I do. And I want us to move forward. Those words, move forward, felt like light coming into a dark room. It felt like permission to let go of the years I had spent blaming myself. Blaming him. Blaming time. I want that too, I said. More than anything. We sat in silence again. But this time there was no pain in it. Just peace. The kind of peace that comes when two hearts finally meet in the middle. I looked down at the letter one more time. This piece of paper was more than just a birthday note. It was a key to open the door we had quietly closed between us years ago. And now, that door was open again. Because of a cup. Because of a basket. Because of a letter that almost never reached me. Lucas? Yes. Thank you for forgiving me, I said. But also, I forgive you. He didn't answer for a second. Then I heard him exhale. Thank you, Mom. We didn't need to say much more after that. Because now everything that needed to be said had finally been spoken. With love, with tears, and with truth. Even though I had found the letter, even though I had read it and cried and held it close to my heart, there was still something missing. A quiet, small ache that stayed with me. Because the truth is, the letter was damaged. The words were faded. Some of them were gone. Forever. And that hurt more than I thought it would. I had what I needed. I had the message. But I didn't have every single word. Not the way he had written it. Not the way he had planned for me to see it. The paper had soaked up water from the sink. The ink had bled into the napkin it was stuck to. Some of the lines were clear. Others were smudged into shadows. So even though I held the letter in my hands, part of it was still missing. And that made me cry all over again. Because I'll never know what those words said. I'll never know how he ended one of the sentences. Or what little extra thoughts he may have added in the margins. Or whether he wrote something and then crossed it out and rewrote it with love. All of that was gone. Lost. Forever. I sat at my kitchen table, holding the letter carefully, like it could fall apart at any second, and I whispered, I'm sorry, Lucas. I missed parts of you. And now I can't get them back. It hurt. Not because I needed a perfect letter, but because I had already missed too many moments in the past. And now I had missed parts of this one too. The most important one. I looked again at the words I could read. I miss you more than you know. You're still my safe place. I love you. Those were enough. Those were everything. But still I wondered what the rest had said. That's how memories work, I guess. Even when you have most of something, you keep thinking about the part that's missing. The same way I still remember the sound of his feet running down the hallway when he was little. But I don't remember what shirt he wore that day. Or how I remember his laugh from when he was 10. But not what game made him laugh so hard. We always remember pieces. And we always lose some too. That night, I sat down with a blank piece of paper. I wrote a few lines of my own. I didn't know if I would ever give it to him. But I needed to write it. Dear Lucas, I'm sorry I didn't open the cup. I'm sorry I didn't check for your letter. But now that I've read what I could, I want you to know that even the broken words found their way into my heart. And the words I couldn't read, I still feel them. Maybe that's what love is. Not having every word. Not needing every detail. Just knowing, deep in your soul, that someone meant something real. And that it was meant for you. Always. Mom. After I wrote it, I folded the paper and placed it inside the same drawer where I kept his card. Next to the wrinkled, torn letter. Next to the cup. 3 things that looked simple on the outside, but meant more than anything else in the world to me. That night, I didn't cry. For the first time in days, I felt calm. Because even though the words were gone, the message wasn't. Even though the paper was torn, the love was whole. And even though I didn't get to read the letter the way he planned, I got to feel it. And sometimes that's what matters most. Not perfect memories, but honest ones. Not full sentences, but real feelings. Not having everything, but being grateful for what you still have. And now, I still had my son. I still had our new beginning. I still had a chance to hold on to the present. So I would never lose something this important again. It was Sunday morning. Exactly 1 week since the breakfast basket arrived at my front door. The same basket that I had smiled at. The one I had given away. The one that held more than just food. So much had changed in 7 days. I had cried. I had searched through garbage. I had found a letter I almost lost forever. And more importantly, I had found my son's heart again. That morning, I made tea and sat near the window. The sunlight was soft. The birds were singing. And everything felt still. But it wasn't over yet. Because that afternoon, Lucas called again. I picked up quickly. Hi, sweetheart, I said with a small smile in my voice. Hi, Mom, he replied. Are you free to talk? I'm always free for you. There was a short pause. Then he said something I didn't expect. Something quiet. Something that reached right into my chest and cracked it wide open. Mom, I wrote that letter because I wasn't sure I'd be able to say those things to you in person. I was quiet. He continued. I've been feeling off lately. Tired. Distant. Sad for no reason. I finally went to the doctor. They did some tests. I sat up straight. What kind of tests? I asked gently. They think it's nothing, he said quickly. But they're checking for something. I didn't want to worry you. That's why I sent the letter. Just in case. My heart stopped for a moment. Just in case? My eyes filled with tears instantly. Lucas, I whispered. Are you sick? I don't know yet, he said. I might not be. It could be something small. But when I felt uncertain, when I felt scared, I thought of you. I thought, what if I never get the chance to tell her what I really feel? I held my breath. I'm not telling you this to make you afraid, he said. I'm telling you because I want to be honest. You deserve that. I pressed my hand to my heart. He had written that letter not just out of love, but out of fear, out of the unknown. It wasn't just a birthday gift. It wasn't just an apology. It was a goodbye letter, a just-in-case letter. And I had almost thrown it away. I had almost missed what could have been my last real message from my son. The thought of that made me feel sick, made my hands shake, made the world go quiet around me. Lucas, I said, my voice breaking, thank you for telling me. But you should have come to me sooner. You should have never carried this alone. I didn't want to scare you, he said again. I don't care if I get scared, I said. I care that you're okay. I care that you feel loved. I care that we're together, really together. Not just with words on paper, but with real connection. He was quiet. Then I heard him say softly, that's why I'm coming to visit. I nodded, holding back tears. When? Tomorrow. Tomorrow. He was coming tomorrow. I didn't care if the house was clean. I didn't care if I had anything special prepared. I just wanted him home. I'll be waiting, I whispered. And Mom, yes, I may not know what's ahead, but one thing I know for sure, that basket, that letter, that moment, it brought me back to you. I couldn't speak. My throat was tight, my eyes full of tears again. But they weren't just sad tears. They were grateful ones. Because even though the week had started with a mistake, even though I had given away the basket and almost lost his message, in the end, I didn't lose him. In fact, I found more of him than I had in years. That evening, I sat in my living room with the cup on the table, the card beside it, and the letter, still a little wrinkled, pressed between two books to help it stay flat. I lit a small candle, not because it was anyone's birthday, but because it felt like a celebration of honesty, of second chances, of love, real love, love that is quiet, love that can be hidden in a cup, love that can survive even after being almost thrown away. The next day he arrived, and when I opened the door and saw him standing there with his eyes full of emotion, I didn't say a word. I just pulled him close and hugged him tighter than I ever had. And he whispered, I'm home, Mom. And that was the moment that healed everything.